Hello, I'm Dr. Sheila Gallagher, one of the two authors of the problem-based learning unit, Ferreted Out. This unit is published by Royal Fireworks Press and is the result of an ongoing collaboration with the Advanced Academics program in the Fairfax County Schools in Virginia. Dana Plowden, my co-author, was a middle school teacher in Fairfax County, and many others in Fairfax had a hand in developing or pilot testing this unit, including the project coordinator, Ann Horak, and middle school science teacher, Ginger Haas. The purpose of this PowerPoint is to walk through the unit so you can get a sense of its lesson plans, activities, and assessments, as well as the teaching supports that are built in so that even a teacher new to PBL can be successful. Ferreted Out is a problem about the reintroduction of the endangered black-footed ferret into the shortgrass prairie. As students investigate the black-footed ferret, they'll learn content about biomes, ecosystems, habitats, genetic drift and genetic bottlenecks, and human impact on the environment. Student investigation could carry them into other content as well, including climate change and the impact of invasive species. You'll hear more about that later. Those of you who are familiar with the medical model of problem-based learning know that it's a combination of curriculum and instruction that transforms the classroom into a content-rich, inquiry-based environment. Three elements work in coordination to make PBL successful: starting learning with an ill-structured problem, having the students as a group adopt the perspective of a stakeholder, and changing the teacher role from lecturer to guide or coach. The ill-structured problem creates the scope and sequence of the unit, and the opening scenario introduces the problem. Of course, the problem is a carefully constructed ill-structured problem, and the opening scenario is carefully crafted to be a catalyst, generating student questions related to specific content objectives. As students dig into the problem at the center of the unit, they move through different phases of problem solving, including problem engagement, inquiry and investigation, problem definition, problem resolution, and problem debriefing. And as the students follow this flow of the problem, the story evolves. A problem narrative is included in the teacher manual to give you a sense of how the unit goes ahead of time. This narrative serves as an outline for teachers new to PBL, but for experienced PBL teachers, the narrative can form a template that can be modified based on student questions or their learning needs. Ferreted Out is based in the shortgrass prairies just outside of Fort Collins, Colorado. The students find they are members of the Black-Footed Ferret Recovery Reintroduction Team, a close parallel to the real group called the Black-Footed Ferret Recovery Implementation Team, a multidisciplinary group of scientists invested in saving the black-footed ferret. The students receive a memo from their boss telling them that progress on black-footed ferret recovery is not proceeding quickly enough, that it's getting too expensive, and that it's not very popular in the surrounding community. They are directed to a newspaper article in the fictitious Fort Collins, Coloradan, which gives them a little more background information on the recovery effort. What students don't know yet, but may figure out later, is that nearly every other article in the paper relates in some way to the black-footed ferret problem. This newspaper and many other unit materials are included in the unit CD, so you can print them and use them as you see fit. Students read the opening scenario, and perhaps also the article on page 4 of the Fort Collins Coloradan, and they use the information they find to fill in the Learning Issues board. After listing information under what they know and questions under Learning Issues, the students prioritize their questions, selecting the top 4 or 5 that they need to answer first. Students then create a plan of action to find answers for those top priority questions. This launches students into the next stage of problem-based learning, inquiry and investigation. During inquiry and investigation, students search for answers to the questions they've listed on the Learning Issues board. The Ferreted Out Teacher Manual contains several pages of websites selected from among hundreds on the Internet. Each section of websites addresses a different content area. Included among the resources are websites with print resources, videos of the black-footed ferret recovery process, audio files including radio clips, and even a webcam at the Smithsonian Zoo in Washington where students can watch a ferret family in action. New Common Core standards encourage careful note-taking and citation. Ferret It Out includes note pages to guide students to collect information that's helpful and related to learning issues questions. They're also prompted to follow proper MLA citation style, so they're ready to cite evidence when they prepare reports to send back to the boss. PBL is designed to help students become self-directed learners. This doesn't mean teachers are absent, far from it. Instead, they redirect their instruction towards teaching students important skills and tools that they need to work their way through the problem, just as a coach instructs a sports team or a choreographer directs a dance corps. Embedded instruction is the term used in PBL for the moments when the problem-solving team needs some assistance from their coach. These lessons usually provide important background information that scientists would have, instruct students in ways of analyzing and synthesizing information, or provide learning experiences that are important to the problem. For example, in Ferret It Out, they learn about biomes and how biomes represent different kinds of ecosystems around the globe. Some embedded instruction presents students with important frames of reference for scientific thinking. For example, a tool that experts use when problem solving is conceptual reasoning, seeing abstract or universal relationships at play in the problem. Part of the embedded instruction in Ferret It Out involves teaching students how to see that thinking conceptually helps them understand the problem better. Systems is the central concept in this unit, and the generalizations students should understand by the unit's end are listed on this slide. The conversation about systems occurs throughout the unit and receives special focus in a couple of lessons like this one, where students depict the shortgrass prairie, complete with labels. After creating their prairie pictures, they then identify different threats facing various elements in the shortgrass prairie system. We tried to keep the unit a reasonable length, but we hated to leave out valuable content, so a couple of lessons are listed as optional embedded instruction. One of the optional lessons is a simulation of a genetic bottleneck. The simulation uses multicolored pony beads. Each color represents a different genetic trait. Students begin with a chart representing 4 generations of ferrets. This chart can be used to introduce the concept of normal genetic drift. Students then complete the simulation, drawing reduced numbers of pony beads to represent a genetic bottleneck across several generations. When they're done, colors are replaced by traits, and students discuss the implications of losing different physiological characteristics as a result of the bottleneck. Another optional lesson is ferret math. During their research, students learned that a black-footed ferret eats around 100 prairie dogs a year. In this activity, they calculate how many prairie dogs are needed to sustain a family of ferrets, and how many acres of land the ferrets and prairie dogs need to thrive. Students then consider what would happen to the black-footed ferret if a colony of prairie dogs was infected with sylvatic plague. Another option available if you want to add more science content are the kickers included in the appendix. Kickers are twists in the plot. They can be used to add new dimensions to the problem, to emphasize particular content, or, if necessary, to refocus the students. 3 kickers are included in Ferret It Out. One introduces a potential health threat caused by sylvatic plague. A second draws students' attention to the invasive species cheatgrass, which is making the prairie vulnerable to wildfire. And a third raises the question of ranchers' rights. Any or all of these could be included in the unit. Eventually, students understand the problem well enough that they're ready to create a specific problem definition. In Ferret It Out, Students prepare for problem definition by carefully tracing one or more elements of the problem backwards to a root cause. The chart provides space for students to chart the cause-effect relationship backwards several layers. A model of how the lesson might unfold is included as a teacher resource. Having identified one or more root cause of the problem, students are ready for problem definition. They're encouraged to think of problem definition as a combination of an issue in need of attention and constraints that limit how they'll approach their solution. For instance, students may decide that a successful solution must respect the rights of ranchers. This would be included as a constraint in their problem definition because they've decided that they won't consider options that do not respect the rights of ranchers. Having reached consensus on a clear problem definition, students are ready to consider different solutions. As students create their specific problem definition, they're also deciding on the criteria to use to judge their solution. A resolution grid helps them turn elements of the problem definition into solution criteria so that they can engage in criteria-based decision-making. Students then have a means of comparing different solution options and deciding which one or which combination will make the most defensible solution. Finally, students present their solution in one of several possible formats. For example, they could build a model or create a PowerPoint presentation. In a separate activity, students are asked to defend their solution by writing an editorial for the Fort Collins Coloradan. At this point, the problem itself is over, but there's still one more stage to PBL, one that, according to research, helps solidify content knowledge and also the student's awareness of the problem-solving process. In Ferret It Out, problem debriefing includes a review of the recovery efforts for the black-footed ferret. Students also engage in a reflection about their experience with problem solving, thinking about what they might do better the next time they have a PBL experience. A variety of assessments are included in the unit. Most of the assessments are included in the student problem log. Assessments for the kickers are included on the materials CD. Special attention was paid to incorporate exercises that are relevant to the problem, yet still meet new Common Core requirements for writing and research, for analysis and reasoning, and for speaking and listening. Ferret It Out also includes materials to support your journey through the problem. In addition to the problem narrative, there's a brief content background so you can brush up on your knowledge about ferrets and prairie dogs. There's also a chart showing where different skills and ideas are introduced. 3 how-to essays help you refine your skills as a PBL coach. Also in the back of the teacher manual are a number of charts demonstrating the alignment between Ferret It Out and national science standards, as well as Common Core state standards. If you're interested in teaching Ferret It Out, you should order the teacher manual, which comes with the CD, and student problem logs. Another helpful resource would be the book Problem-Based Learning in the Classroom, which is a practical guide describing how to teach PBL units and actually uses this problem as its primary example. If you're interested in widespread use of this or other PBL units, implementation workshops are available through Royal Fireworks Press. I hope you enjoyed this walk through Ferret It Out. To see slideshows describing other award-winning PBL units in this series, please visit the Royal Fireworks Press website at www.rfwp.com. Thanks for listening.